If you're a Ravens fan, it might be time to start paying very close attention to Zay Flowers. There's a growing buzz around Baltimore right now, and more people believe he's on the verge of making the biggest leap of his career. After flashing his incredible talent over the past few seasons, the young receiver seems to have everything he needs to become one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire NFL. What's even more intriguing is that the signs of this breakout were already starting to show before the season has even kicked off. But are we simply looking at a good young player getting better, or are we witnessing the rise of a true superstar? Throughout this video, you'll see why so many people inside the Ravens organization believe 2026 could be the year Zay Flowers explodes onto another level. And some of the reasons behind that confidence might surprise even the most optimistic Ravens fans. One thing that really stands out to me about this entire Ravens story is that the organization seems ready to step way outside its comfort zone. For years, Baltimore leaned on experienced offensive coordinators with established methods and proven track records. Then suddenly, they hand the keys to the offense to DECLAN DOYLE, a coach who's only 30 years old. And honestly, I think that tells you a lot about where this franchise's mindset is right now. They're willing to take a risk because they believe it could help them reach another level. In my opinion, his age isn't even the most important part of the story. What matters is what that age represents. When someone this young steps into a role this big, they usually bring fresh ideas, a different perspective, and a new way of communicating with players. And when you look back at Baltimore's offensive production last season, it's easy to understand why the organization felt it needed something different. The offense simply wasn't as dominant as many people expected it to be. Another thing that makes me really curious is Doyle's coaching background. He comes from the Sean Payton coaching tree, one of the most respected offensive coaching pipelines in football. Now, that doesn't automatically mean he'll be a success, but I do think there's a reason so many people around the league have been talking about him. The Ravens didn't hire him just to keep doing things the same way they've always been done. The feeling I get is that they're trying to discover just how explosive this offense can become with a fresh mind calling the shots. And here's what I find most interesting. The change already seems noticeable before the season has even started. Based on what players have been saying, Doyle didn't arrive trying to make everyone happy or avoid confrontation. In fact, he's already shown he's willing to challenge even the biggest star on the roster. And when that accountability starts reaching someone like Lamar Jackson, things suddenly become a lot more interesting, because the relationship between those two could end up determining whether this new era of Ravens football succeeds or falls short. One of the most fascinating things I've seen so far isn't a play design or a practice highlight. It's how DECLAN DOYLE has chosen to work with Lamar Jackson from day one. Let's be honest here. We're talking about a two-time MVP and one of the most unique talents the NFL has ever seen. Most coaches would probably walk into that situation very carefully, trying not to create tension right away. Doyle seems to have taken a different approach. During minicamp, Lamar shared a story that immediately grabbed attention. After running a play differently than it was designed, Doyle didn't hesitate to call him out. Jackson recalled the moment by saying, "He cussed me out yesterday. I was supposed to run a naked play, like a boot action, and I tossed the ball instead." He was like, "Lamar, what the F are you doing?" I was like, "Damn, that's on me." What made the story even more interesting was Lamar's reaction. He admitted, "I laughed. I wasn't used to that." Honestly, I see that as a very positive sign. Not because Doyle was hard on Lamar, but because it suggests a relationship built on honesty and accountability. In a lot of organizations, star players get treated differently. Coaches sometimes avoid difficult conversations or let small mistakes slide because they don't want to create friction. But when that happens, everyone in the building notices. The message Doyle seems to be sending is simple. Nobody is above the standard. What really grabs my attention is how important this dynamic could become for the Ravens in 2026. Doyle understands he's working with a once-in-a-generation talent. And in my opinion, he knows his job isn't just to adapt the offense to Lamar Jackson. It's also to push Lamar to get the absolute most out of himself within that system. If they can find the perfect balance between freedom and discipline, this offense could reach a completely different level. But that's not the only reason people are so excited about Doyle. What's even more impressive is the amount of respect he's already earned throughout the league. Whenever a coach this young takes on a major role, questions are inevitable. Experience is one of the first things people look at in the NFL. And honestly, that would have been one of my first questions too. But the more reports that come out of Baltimore, the more obvious it becomes that Doyle didn't need much time to convince people he knows exactly what he's doing. One of the most eye-opening endorsements came from Anthony Weaver, a highly respected figure around the league. Weaver didn't just praise Doyle's intelligence. He took a step further, saying, "He is like a human computer. He's got like this Rolodex of plays in his head, almost like he has photographic memory." When an experienced coach says something like that, I immediately pay attention. These guys spend every day around some of the smartest football minds in the world. They know talent when they see it. But the praise didn't stop there. One of the strongest endorsements came from inside the offense itself. Pro Bowl receiver Zay Flowers has been blown away by what Doyle has brought to the table so far. At one point, Flowers said, "He's got stuff that I've never seen, like plays and routes. He's a genius." And when an NFL player says he's seeing concepts he's never seen before, that tells me Doyle is bringing something genuinely different. That said, it's important to stay grounded. Getting praise in July is one thing. Producing results in January is something entirely different. The NFL is full of brilliant football minds who looked amazing on the whiteboard, but struggled when it came time to win games. The difference with Doyle is that his rise hasn't happened by accident. His climb through the league has been fast, consistent, and built around offensive creativity and game planning. And that brings us to the next reason why so many people believe he's ready for this opportunity. When I look at DECLAN Doyle's career path, one thing jumps out immediately. He didn't end up in Baltimore because somebody randomly decided to gamble on a young coach. Quite the opposite. Every step of his journey seems to have prepared him for an opportunity like this. Over the years, he's been heavily involved in offensive planning, game plan development, and weekly strategy building. He may not have always been the most recognizable name on a coaching staff, but he was working in the exact areas that shape an offense's identity. And that's important because coordinating an NFL offense is about so much more than drawing up flashy plays. A coordinator has to understand how to attack different offensive schemes, make adjustments during games, exploit weaknesses, and put his playmakers in the best possible situations. Those are massive responsibilities. Based on Doyle's background, he spent years building expertise in exactly those areas, even if much of that work happened behind scenes. Another thing that stands out to me is how quickly he climbed the coaching ladder. Opportunities like this don't usually come quickly in the NFL. When someone rises that fast in one of the most competitive environments in professional sports, it often means influential people saw something special in that person. That doesn't guarantee success, of course. But doors rarely open that quickly unless you've consistently proven you're capable of more. And that's exactly why expectations are so high right now. The Ravens aren't simply hiring a new offensive coordinator. They're handing one of the NFL's most talented offenses to someone many believe could be one of the brightest offensive minds of the next generation. Now, the theories, the praise, and the excitement all have to turn into real results on the field. Because at the end of the day, there's only one question that matters for Ravens fans. Can DECLAN Doyle turn all this potential into an offense capable of putting Baltimore back among the NFL's elite? And we're about to find out.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button to help the purple flock grow.
If I had to sum up this entire story in one sentence, it would be this. The Ravens are betting that a new mind can unlock a new level for a team that already has plenty of talent. That's what makes DECLAN Doyle's arrival so fascinating. We're not talking about a rebuilding team or a roster lacking star power. Quite the opposite. Baltimore already has a generational quarterback, explosive playmakers, and a strong foundation. What they're searching for is that final piece that can turn a good offense into a truly unstoppable one. When you look at last season's numbers, it's easy to understand why the organization decided to make this move. The offense had its moments, but it wasn't the dominant force Ravens fans had grown used to seeing during the best years of the Lamar Jackson era. In today's NFL, where creativity and offensive innovation matter more than ever, standing still can be dangerous. And that may be exactly why Baltimore went looking for someone willing to challenge old ideas and bring fresh solutions. What I find most encouraging is that all the early signs seem to point in the same direction. The players seem energized. The coaching staff seems confident. Lamar Jackson appears to be getting challenged in a different way. And Doyle himself has shown the personality and confidence needed to lead a unit that will be under tremendous pressure all season long. When you put all those pieces together, it's easy to understand why optimism is growing around Baltimore. But there's a huge difference between expectations and reality. And honestly, that's what makes this story so fascinating. Right now, nobody knows exactly how this gamble will play out. What we do know is that the Ravens have placed one of the NFL's most closely watched offenses in the hands of a 30-year-old coordinator. If it works, Doyle could become one of the biggest stories in football this season. If it doesn't, questions about his youth and inexperience will come rushing back. And that's exactly why so many people are watching every move he makes in Baltimore. After looking at all these factors, one thing becomes crystal clear. Zay Flowers has a tremendous opportunity in front of him. With more experience, growing confidence, and an increasingly important role within the Ravens' offense, everything points to him entering the 2026 season in the best position of his career. Potential alone doesn't guarantee success, but the signs coming out of Baltimore suggest there's a very real reason for all the excitement surrounding his name. On top of that, the arrival of fresh offensive ideas may be exactly what Flowers needs to reach another level. When you combine an explosive playmaker, a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, and a coaching staff actively searching for new ways to maximize talent, the result could be something special. That's why so many analysts and fans are paying close attention to every step Flowers takes during this offseason. Now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Zay Flowers is finally going to become one of the NFL's biggest stars in 2026? Or do you think the hype is getting a little too high? Let me know in the comments below.
And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.